Hey, what's up, y'all? CV Tech here, doing a review on the Alcatel One Touch Elevate. This phone is on Boost Mobile, and this is really one of the cheapest phones you really can buy right now with Boost Mobile, especially if you do like a upgrade or a port in. Now, I'm not sure if them in-store specials are still going on or not. But this phone here is like really dirt cheap. Now, I'd always check your Boost Mobile stores to find out prices, but this is one of your bare bones low end devices that I want to kind of just show y'all how it works and everything else. So I'm going to give you the specs of the phone, take around the phone, tell you what I think about it, and just give my overall experience with the phone. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, this phone does run Android 5.1.1, which is really surprising that it runs that out of the box, but it's good to see that. Highly doubtful it'll ever get anything like Android M, nothing like that, because it's such a low-end basic device. But anyway, looking at the front here, you got a 4.5-inch display at 480 by 854 resolution at 218 pixels per inch. Up top here is your ear speaker. You have your front-facing camera. Down here is your back, home, and your recents button. On the bottom is your microphone, micro USB charging port. On the left side here is your volume rocker. On top, 3.5mm headset jack, secondary microphone here. On the right side is your power button. On the back is your camera, flash, your Alcatel One Touch branding, and your single rear speaker. Now this phone, it creaks, it rattles. It's not really made that good. It's just cheap plastic. It's not made of anything very durable, reliable, nothing like that. Like I said, this phone right here, if the promotion is still going on for in-store pricing, this phone here was free if you poured in your number, or 20 bucks if you do an upgrade if you've been on Boost Mobile for 6 months or longer. So we'll go ahead and look here at the back. We'll take the back cover off because the back is removable. And you also have a removable battery, which it is only 2000 milliamp hour battery. Up here you have your SIM card slot and your micro SD card slot right up here. So pretty basic, no NFC, nothing like that. The phone does feel cheap and very plasticky, but you know what do you expect for such a low end device? Now, my overall first impressions of this phone was I liked it, and I still do like it. Even though I can't use it as a daily driver, I've tried it. Get about a day into it, and I'm like, okay, I can't stand it no more. It's not that it's a bad phone. It's just that whenever you're used to using a phone like the HTC Desire 626S or the LG Stylo or the ZT Warp Elite, going to this phone right here, unless you want the phone just to knock around a little bit, it's kind of hard to use on a daily basis. Now, like I said, it does run Android 5.1.1 out of the box. This phone does have a 5 megapixel camera on the rear with an LED flash, and it does have autofocus. Records in 720p max resolution, and also has a 2 megapixel camera on the front that also records in a max video recording of 720p. This phone runs a 1.1 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 210 processor with 1 gigabyte of RAM, 8 gigs of built-in storage, and I have to double check on the maximum user storage. It does say 5 gigs available to user. I don't think that's true, so I'll go in here in a minute and look that up. And it will support up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD card. Like I may mention, it's got a 2000 milliamp hour battery with around 16 hours of talk time and an estimated 7.9 days of standby time. Now, this phone does support Sprint's 3G, 4G LTE, enhanced LTE network. So, of course, that's really awesome. It's LTE Cat 4. It does have Bluetooth, either 4.1 or 4.0. Not really sure about that. No NFC, nothing like that. So, basically about it. It's about all that you really see on this phone here. Nothing too, amazingly, or nothing, that's going to shock you. Now, as I may mention, both of these phones here with the HTC Desire and the Alcatel, they both run the same 1.1 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 210 processors. Now, the only difference is this has 1 gigabyte of RAM, versus 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. It's amazing the difference in the speed of this phone and this phone here. Both of them benchmark test about the same, but this phone right here is just a lot slower, and it can't handle as much multitasking as the HTC Desire 626S. So the 210 does run differently on different devices. So go ahead and turn the phone on here. And as you see, the screen really don't look too bad. You know, the 4.5-inch display, 480 by 854 resolution, it don't look too bad. Scrolling through the pages on basic use is pretty smooth. It has no issues. Now, I'm not running the stock launcher on this device. I am running Apex launcher, which I do run on a lot of phones that I do have, and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and go into here. You'll see your app drawer, and like I said, overall basic usage, it's very smooth. I mean, it has no lag, it has no issues whatsoever. Got your drop down menu here with your brightness down and up and all that good stuff, so it gets pretty bright. Your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, um, your mobile airplane mode, of course, your flashlight here, which is always nice to see a little flashlight app on the phone. It is pretty bright to see if you're in the dark, so that's pretty nice to see as well. We'll go in here right now, and we will go ahead and clear out everything here in this, and we will go ahead and run a Geekbench test, and we'll just show you some of the speeds that it does run. Now, while this is running, I do want to make mention of a few things about the phone that I do like. Call quality is solid. Not had any issues. With most Alcatel phones, reception is also very stellar. It's really good. Not had any drop calls. No no problem whatsoever. It connects to 3G or LTE very well. And like I say, for a cheap budget phone, this phone right here will do the job if you want a secondary phone to back up on. If you are going somewhere and don't really care if it gets dropped or if it gets beat up a little bit. It's a cheap phone, but it's reliable and it works. And you can get on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all your social media apps without any issues whatsoever. And it just overall is a good, solid phone. Yes, it's not made very well. It does feel a little flimsy here and there. But for the price of the phone, you really can't beat it. And you might have to deal with some lag here and there. That's why I downloaded a secondary launcher, like Apex launcher, because it does seem to run smoother on Apex launcher than the stock launcher. Not by much, but a little bit. It does run smoother, and I like the overall look of the Apex launcher. And that's the launcher that I use on a lot of phones as secondary backup. I got it on the HTC, got it on the Warp Elite, on the LG Stylo. So I use them kind of back and forth. So yeah, overall solid built phone. Good for basic use, basic app use, and battery life on this thing is surprisingly really good for a 2000 milliamp hour. And I would say that's credited to the lower screen resolution, the smaller screen, and everything. The battery life seems to hold us on pretty well without any real issues. So wait for this benchmark test here to finish up. It's almost done, and the screen is a little too dim, so I'll brighten that up here in a second. Uploading the results, and so you're going to see the benchmark test was just about identical to the HTC Desire 626S at 299 single score and right at 1000 on multi score at 998, and that's just about the same score on the HTC. Like I said, however, varying by phones, this phone runs about half as smooth as the HTC. So sometimes, even though it does have the same processor as other phones, some phones just run better with that processor, and HTC is the exception compared to the Alcatel. We'll go ahead right now and play Asphalt Nitro. I made a mistake on the HTC and said that I was running Asphalt 8, which I was not. So it's the same game here. So we'll go ahead and let this here load up. Okay, so this game takes a little bit to load up. It's kind of slow on a lot of phones. So it's almost done here. So let's go ahead and play it. Now the rear speaker on this thing, pretty good output. Now we'll go home, and there you go. It's just smooth with really no issues. Now the screen quality on this phone is not the greatest. As you see here, it is fairly crisp, but it's um, got some little fuzziness to it, little pixelated. Not the greatest in the world. Which you can't expect a whole lot, with a phone of this price range. Now the screen quality, viewing angles looks pretty good from side to side and on down. But looking at it from top, you can see that it really drops off in quality and everything like that. So we're going to go ahead and here to the messaging for a second. Pull this away for a minute here. And we'll go into text messaging, and this is the Google keyboard. Of course, down here is your emojis as well. Um, there's a whole bunch of them, about like on anything else you see. But this has one of the slowest keyboards on it I've ever seen in my life. Now, I run this keyboard on every phone that I have, but it is just so slow that a lot of times it just does not want to register. I mean, as you see here, um, it just don't want to register too good. It's very slow, very laggy. So the keyboard is one of the major disadvantages with this phone. Now we'll go in here to the settings for a quick minute, and of course you got your buttons here, in call, stuff like that. I mean, just basically stuff. Yeah, nothing too exciting. Storage. It does have 4.58 gigs available to user once it's activated and everything. So it's not too bad considering a lot of phones around 3 to 3.5 available, and you can hold a SD card. So that's pretty nice as well. You can move apps to the SD card. Going down here to the about phone, and we'll go into the software version. As you see, it does run Android 5.1.1. Oh yeah, there we go. And of course, you got your little game. It's about near impossible to play a lot of times. And one thing about this phone here is the screen just is not very reactive. You got to push it pretty hard sometimes to get it to register. And I'm pushing it right now pretty hard, and it's just dropping on me for no reason at all. So, this phone is your average basic phone. If you look here, these buttons stayed on when the phone was powered off. So there is a delay sometimes whenever when I turn the phone off. It does have a little delay here. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad phone. I'm not saying that at all. It's just if you're on a budget and you really want just a low end basic device, this may be a choice for you because this phone here, while it does play games well, you can watch YouTube in max 480 um, resolution. You can watch Netflix, stuff like that, and you really don't have any issue as long as you're looking at the screen head on. Of course, if you tilt it up and down a little bit, you're going to run into some washout and stuff of that nature. But overall, I give this phone about a 6 out of a 10 because it does lack some of the quality. And this phone here does retail for $100. Now, That's online price, and you can buy other phones like the LG Volt 2 or um, trying to think of some other phones here. Moto E second generation that are much better phones than this phone right here for cheaper in store, like Walmart, Best Buy, places like that. And you're getting a much better phone compared to this Alcatel One Touch Elevate. So I'm not dogging the phone. I'm not saying it's a bad phone. However, I'm not saying it's a phone that you may like to use all the time, even though it does run smooth the majority of the time. The screen is not very responsive a lot. Sometimes you got to really press on the screen to get it to do anything. Not when you're basic scrolling like this, but whenever you are playing a game, a lot of times it just does not want to work too well. So that's basically about all I really wanted to say about the Alcatel One Touch Elevate. It's not a bad phone, however, it's not a good phone. It's kind of one of them in the middle of the road type phones. So yeah, okay. Any questions or comments about this phone? Leave them in the comment section below. I'll get back with you as soon as possible. Um, if this was any help to you at all, please hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate that as well. Y'all have a good one. Stay tuned for the next video.